Hey there, Lupin.
Hello. Me and Cory are back. Some fun times. I'm just going to be sitting in Nightmare Zone while we talk. I'm just leveling up my combat stats because that's the only fun I can derive from this game right now. And let's turn everything off. Show none. Just to make sure we don't get any bad eggs. Right. We're doing hard sweeter points. Just for the points earned. Because it's less XP, but it gives us more points so we can get more herbs for herbivore training later. Yeah, so this is the room that you'll see me sitting in, this boring ass room. For this whole stream, however long it is.
Okay, I am back.
Yo.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even have anything like good video-wise to like go on right now. So I think I'm just gonna let you be the sole arbiter, and I'm just gonna sit here and talk to you. I'll be your guest star.
Oh no, I'm streaming old school Runescape. This is bad.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There's not even anything I can do on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to look interesting.
I'm literally sitting in a room where I'm just gonna stand still and like auto attack things. So for like
Fine.
however long.
We're podcasting.
This is gonna be bad, but hey, oh, there you go.
I do have to stop right at 9:30 to start dinner.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So what are we talking about?
So let's see. So, we can get back into One Piece. We were on. I think we didn't actually start talking about Punk Hazard yet, so we can get back into One Piece and start talking about Punk Hazard.
We finished on Fishman.
There is. I've started reading Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say I'm sorry in advance. I forgot how bloody the series was when I recommended it. As I've gone back and reread it since for Jujutsu. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, well, I already watched the anime.
Oh, okay.
One thing about the manga hasn't really bothered me much. That being said, one thing about the Juju manga is that it's when you said that he was inspired by Hunter x Hunter and like Togashi, God, I can see it in like every panel.
Yeah. It's like when it's something where it's like beforehand you're like, oh, I don't know. Like you're like, I don't know, and then you like read it after with that information. You're like, oh yeah, for sure. You can definitely tell.
Dude, like there are some scenes like with all like the light line work and like the just like the piercing whites of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, it really does feel like I'm reading like a Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm reading Hunter x Hunter for the first time again sometimes.
Yeah,
Which is weird for me to say because I just read it. But like, yeah, Juju is incredibly good so far. It's kind of similar to how I feel about Hirawaka in that it's like, so far and I'm still early. I'm only like, what, 70 chapters in? I'm not even caught up to
I was gonna ask if you've been to Shibuya yet. That's the big moment.
But so far, like every moment in the manga is like the anime has like done it just as good or better.
Yeah.
But unlike Hirawaka, that's not like damnation with faint praise. That's just like pure praise for the anime.
Yeah, no, I mean the anime is really good. Yeah, no, but you're gonna. I'm excited to hear your opinions on Jujutsu. After Shibuya, that's the big turning point USA of the series.
Yeah, I'm still undecided on if I'm going to read the manga and then like be like anime watcher afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is saying I should just go ahead and do it, but I'm still kind of like on the fence about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know the second season's gonna adapt like up through Shibuya, so it's up to your decision.
Yeah, I'll make a decision eventually.
But yeah, Jujutsu is.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
very good, in my opinion.
Very good.
I'm excited to talk about
And
it
there's
with you when you
also,
get further in.
yeah, there's also some really interesting differences between it and the manga. Like the fact that in the manga, Panda is ugly as sin.
I love Panda. I have some
So
favorite
good.
characters, and Panda's one of them.
He's just ugly in the manga.
It's
He
true.
never looks like a panda, except for like one or two scenes.
Well, he's not a
By
panda.
golly, if I don't love him.
He's not a
Oh yeah,
panda.
yeah, you're right.
uh, but yeah, no, I mean, like, there's some characters that I'm a big fan of in Juju. Panda Nobara is great. I love Nanami. Nanami's probably my
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh, Nanami is so good.
There's some
Also,
really well
really
written
like,
characters.
yeah, I really like Megumi. I really
Mm-hmm.
hate Toto with everything I have.
I mean, Toto is pretty great in a sense, but yeah, I can understand not liking him.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely love watching him. I just hate him with everything I have.
Uh,
When I say I hate Aoi Toto, that is not a complaint.
it's a compliment on the writing.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jujutsu has a lot of good characters, and like even like the characters that I do hate, like the old man teacher of Kyoto, who just like I'm like, I hate this guy. Nothing could redeem this guy for me, and then he just pulls out a guitar and starts playing it. And I'm like, huh?
I said nothing. I said nothing. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
especially all the curses too. Like
yeah,
forget, was it Hanami, the
yeah.
nature one?
And I mean, Jogo.
Absolutely love them.
Oh, there's some great stuff with the curses as well. Yeah, pretty good. Oh, so you're a
And
big fan.
honestly,
You're a big
from
fan of
like
the curse that makes humans Play-Doh, huh? Yeah.
not a fan of that one.
He's a pretty big piece of shit.
Oh, Juju's dub is fantastic too. Oh,
That's good.
I'm just like thinking about the dub just makes me shiver sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
yeah.
I don't think I have any big picture things to talk about with Juju yet since I'm
No,
still
that
so early.
trust me, it comes after Shinjuku. You'll have some thoughts. There'll be some thoughts after that. That arc is insane.
I am very excited. Or not. I'm not sure yet.
You will definitely have some opinions.
Okay.
or Shibuya. I
So
keep saying Shinjuku. Shibuya. That's what it is. Yeah, no, you'll have some opinions for sure. There's no way you won't. There's some moments in that.
some moments. Let's see.
Yeah, and then after
And
Shibuya is just the long ass arc that's been going on for I don't even know how long now. But yeah, whether you read it or watch it, I think you'll have things to say.
can't wait.
So what are we actually talking about?
Let's see. Is there anything else I can do?
Oop. You turned into a robot there.
They want to talk about?
I can't understand what you're saying. Talking to an alien. Uh-oh.
I will throw it for you once. See once. Okay, back. Did I miss anything?
No, nothing of import.
Okay. See, trying to think. Have I read anything? Oh, I actually read the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal manga.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, showing me some stuff.
I was honestly shocked by how good it was.
You were shocked. The only
Yeah, I
thing,
was shocked by how.
the only thing I know about Yu-Gi-Oh is that the original creator, we talked about him a bit on here because he passed away recently. Is that the original creator was like insane, like in a good way, and that he like
Yeah.
was really good at what he did. So I thought it was good just from like reputation.
Mm-hmm. Well, because like every manga after the original one was written by someone else,
Okay,
but each one has a different author.
gotcha.
So like the author of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I think was the same person who wrote Yu-Gi-Oh! R, which was like a spin-off that came out like while Yu-Gi-Oh! Was still going.
Hmm.
And then 5Ds and Zexal were both written by different people. I think the person who wrote Zexal was actually someone who worked as like an assistant on like GX.
Okay,
And so, and all the other mangas were actually based on the animes. So, like, the animes came first, and then they made the Yu-Gi-Oh mangas.
gotcha.
And so, Zexal as an anime is pretty mid. There's some good characters in there, and there's like some good stuff, but overall, it's very 100% a kid show. Let's just
Hmm.
say.
For sure.
But I do really like all the characters in Zexal. I do think they're all like really strong characters, just like as a foundation. And the Zexal manga is shockingly good. It adapts a couple of the original, like small, like duels from the anime, like the ones that set up the character relationships.
Yeah.
But like 90% of it is all original, including some original villains
Okay.
and mostly original plot points. And it was honestly really good. I think I honestly would probably recommend reading Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal just on its own.
Alright. Maybe
Don't know if I'd recommend watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal.
it's not out of the picture for me. I don't have any hold ups when it comes to stuff like that. I read Berserk, so I mean. I read Berserk, I read Tokyo Ghoul, I read all the fucked up shit, so I don't got an issue. Shit stuff.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal does have one, the manga has one shockingly dark moment in it, which I read at a family dinner.
Like out loud to the rest of it.
No, I didn't read it out loud. So anyway, and then the small child does to the other small child.
Oh, so it is more like Berserk. Anyway.
I'm never reading Berserk. I don't have
Yeah.
any respect for it, but I'm never reading Berserk.
I understand.
You want to hear the most awful TikTok I've ever seen in my life? So, Alexa was like, "Here, watch this," or maybe it was an Instagram story, but basically a TikTok.
Yeah.
And she's like, and she starts screaming at her phone, and she's like, "Watch this." And so there's someone who's like putting together a Berserk figure of Griffin,
Mm-hmm.
like Monster Griffin.
I know what you're gonna say. That's gonna be awful.
And it's got John. And we're watching it, and I'm like, "Hey, this is a little weird." And then there's another figure that gets put on top of it, and that was when the video was no longer okay.
It's so bad.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, I get why that video made you scream. It makes me scream too."
Welcome to Berserk.
covers are terrible, terrible.
One of the greatest series I've ever read. Yeah, no. Berserk definitely goes a bit far in some places.
Yes.
But let's get to the main topic.
That's right, the main topic.
Which one? Which one? One Piece or One Punch?
Oh, that's right, One Punch. Yeah. You know what? Let's go ahead and here's the thing though. If we get into One Punch, will we be able to stop after an hour and a half?
Yeah, but we just have to continue next time. I mean, I don't mind taking a break from One Piece.
Okay.
One Piece is forever.
Okay. Yeah, One Piece forever. For better and for ill.
Yeah, that's it's just gonna go on for eternity.
Yeah. So so One Punch Man.
So One Punch Man. So released as a darling, an animation darling, back on what year was that?
That had to be like 2014, right?
It was so long ago.
2015.
And it had like all these industry greats like combined into one big project.
Yeah.
And it was like it just exploded this popularity of this thing that nobody knew what it was. It was One Punch Man, and since then it has kind of morphed into one of my favorite media properties of all time, and has led me to probably who is one of my favorite modern auteurs, which is a snotty way of saying author.
Yeah.
Which is One. I love One. He's so great. He's really cool. It sounds like I'm being a weirdo, but like genuinely, I love One. From One Punch Man fame, Mob Psycho 100 fame, and he's now releasing a new series called Versus, which I recommend.
Oh, he does have a new series?
He has a new series, yeah.
Okay.
It only has a couple things, and I don't think they're officially translated into English. Viz has not picked it up yet, but it only has like 3 chapters so far, and it's about 47 or 51 or something heroes are sent to slay 51 of the Demon King's strongest demons, and that's the setup for the story, and that's all I'm going to tell you. Because it's already at my reading of the first chapter, I was fucking hooked, is what I'll tell you. So it's just called Versus, and it's drawn by the guy who does the artwork for one of the fighting game series, like one of the major fighting game series. I forget which one.
Black Blue, Guilty Gear, like one of those.
No, it's
yeah,
I think I forget. Let's see. This is one of the. Let's see. Versus Kyotaru Azuma is the guy's name. He's doing the artwork for that. He does the artwork for King of Fighters.
Oh, okay. So not one of the anime ones. King of Fighters got some good designs in it.
Yeah. So he's the guy behind King of Fighters Fighties artwork. And yeah, he is doing a manga with One, which was surprising when I saw that information. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does the different. I don't know if he does everything for them, but he definitely does all the mangas for King of Fighters and stuff like that. So
okay.
But yeah, sure. That's his new series, Versus. I highly recommend it, and like I said, that little summary that I gave is all you should go in with. It is great already. Okay. It is 3 chapters in. I am in love with it.
Okay.
I'm very excited to see what One does this with this idea. So
Okay, I will definitely keep that in mind.
Also, one
Back
has.
to One Punch Man though.
I
Oh,
was
go
about
on.
to extrapolate on that. One has an issue with, and it's not really an issue because no other series does it like one does, but he has an issue with OP protagonist or OP characters in his writings.
Yeah.
His stories are told from the standpoint of this person already has the strength that they need to, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
one of the through lines of his series, which is, you know, you already have what you need to be the best you. You just got to realize it, and you got to realize what's important to you in life, which is kind of one of one's through lines in all of his series. And that is no different when talking about One Punch Man. One Punch Man.
One Punch. I think one thing about One Punch Man is that the first season of the anime just exudes quality, right? And
Yeah.
from every pore. For the record, I watched the sub of One Punch Man as it was coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and then as the dub was being released, I watched it again.
Yeah. No, I mean it's the first season of One Punch Man is a marvel. Like I said, it's a technical marvel. The fact that it got made and looks as good as it does.
Yes. Yeah. For the record, that ranks up with series like what are some other things that I was willing to like watch subbed and then dubbed? That would be like seasons like 2 and 3 of Hiroaka
Mm-hmm.
or like Kaguya-sama. Like
Okay.
for like some of the things that I'm willing to watch subbed and then watch again dubbed.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's it's like when you talk about those other series that you've watched subbed and then dubbed, it's because the time that you watched them was when they were releasing, more or less, right? Yeah, because it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
and you wanted to talk about it with other
Well,
people.
well, not necessarily because with that was the case with Hiroaka. With Kaguya-sama, it was a case of I watched one episode just to try it out before the dub for season 1 was around, but they had dubbed season 2. Really weird choice. Don't know why that happened, but it did. And so I watched the episode, and then I was instantly hooked that I watched all of season 1 in one shot.
Yeah, it's one of the things where I don't think they thought Kaguya-sama was going to be as popular as it ended up being, because it became very popular when it released, and I don't think they realized that was going to happen. So they just kind of were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then it just because of its popularity, they were like, oh, we got to dub this next thing, and they just hadn't found a dub for the first season or something. I don't know. I can't explain it, but that's my mental
Yeah, because
reasoning in my head.
they simul-dubbed season 2,
Yeah.
and then months later they released the dub for season 1 all at once.
Yeah. So in my opinion, that's because they just didn't realize that season 1 was going to be as popular as it was, and they were like, "Oh shit, get a simuldub on season 2. We'll do season 1 afterwards."
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
But One Punch Man is pretty great, and the only thing I am sad about with the anime is that the worst part of the story is the best animated part. And it makes me very sad.
Yeah, yeah. The story only goes up from where it starts out at.
Yeah, because it starts out because one, I think he said it before, he wasn't even planning on making this like an actual series. He was just kind of doing it as like a joke kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And then it just kind of took off, and so he ended up starting to actually write arcs after the initial part where it was kind of just disjointed. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that initial first season is disjointed, kind of a comedy anime that feels like it doesn't really have it. It's a little directionless, but it's funny
Yeah.
and it's entertaining, and that's what people like about it. With the later stuff, it has a very each part has a very poignant point driven throughout it. That is like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's a reason for why this story is being told now. So
And it's so good.
I guess we'll
So I
just.
guess we should. Yeah. So I guess we should separate it into. Because I'm trying to think about how this would be to talk about. Do we want to talk about like season one of the anime and then talk about manga and then webcomic maybe?
And there's so much. It's like there's three different mediums that One Punch Man is delivered through, all a little bit different in their own special ways, and it's like an interesting kind of look at this kind of separation of mediums. The fact that it was originally written in a webcomic, adapted to a manga, adapted to an anime as well, and like they have different stories, slightly different
Mm-hmm.
stories that they tell. It's a little interesting and confusing at the same time. The series has four major sagas that the everything has had. It's the introduction, the Hero Association, the Monster Association, and then the Neo Heroes. So I think we could just talk at length, like kind of go through each of those
Okay. Okay.
as they come.
So yeah. Oh, also, for the record, I don't think I ever told you, but I did go back and read the webcomic versions of the introduction and like the Hero Association stuff. I
Okay.
did go back and reread those
Okay.
or read the webcomic version. So I have for the first part of the story, I have read and seen all three versions,
Yeah.
and then for the later parts of the stories, I've read the manga and the webcomic.
Yeah. So the introduction, there's not really much to say other than like the setups and stuff, because like I said, this is kind of like when it's still a joke, but
Yeah, it's a good joke though.
it's a good joke. Yeah, the strongest man of all time essentially is the strongest man, and he wants a real fight, and he can't get a real fight. But he's also not like an asshole like someone like Netero is, where it's like they'll do anything to get this real fight.
Yeah,
um,
he's not like an a hole like Netero. He's also not like you're very He's not like because normally that type of role is reserved for like a villain a lot of the
mm-hmm.
times, where it's like oh I'll just let the protagonist get as strong as possible.
Hisoka
So a lot of
moments.
times that kind of role is reserved Hisoka moments. Hisoka's not a villain. He's a good boy.
He's one of our main characters, and he is a villain.
So there's
I can't wait till him and Kurapika team up here soon. Oh my god! Let me stop talking about Hunter x Hunter. Stop it! Cut it out.
yeah, that's right. I every now and then me and my wife are driving down the road and I still think about I feel so bad about those girls. I feel so bad about them. Cacho and
Yeah.
yeah. Every now and then we're just driving down the road and I'm just like I'm so worried about her.
Hunter x Hunter,
But
please
anyway,
return to us in good health. Okay, so anyway,
yeah. So one thing that I do think is worth noting about the early arcs, for me, is that, and so like by early arcs, we're talking about like everything pre Seeking.
we're talking about pre Hero Association. So the three mini arcs that are included
Oh,
in the introduction are the Saitama introduction, the House of Evolution, and the Paradise Group. Which the Paradise Group is
okay,
where
okay,
Hammerhead and Sonic and stuff. So, and then
okay,
after
okay.
that is when they join the Saitama joins the Hero Association, the Meteor Arc, the Sea Monster, aliens, that kind of thing.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. I
So
wasn't even
just
quite sure how it was split up.
yeah. So just in this
So
introduction
yeah,
is Saitama's introduction, the House of Evolution, which we can talk a little bit about, and then the Paradise Group, which is there's not really much to say about that one.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So one thing about the introduction I do want to say is that Saitama is just incredibly well characterized
mhm.
right from the get go. Like he has a very plain design by design, obviously, um, and they do a whole lot with that, just like through his expressions, the fact that his design is so basic and silly, um, very well designed and characterized right from the get go.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I think they do really well is the backstory of Saitama here, where it's kind of extrapolated that I don't know if it's done exactly here, but we know a little bit about it later. But I'm just going to touch on it here because why not? Saitama is this office worker who is he doesn't, and this is the through line. This is the reason why I love Saitama and identify with him as a person and not as a super strong hero man. Is he's a person who's an office worker who doesn't have he has a lack of self-actualization, is how I'll put it.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really think he doesn't really like being an office worker. He doesn't really like his life as it is. A monster appears one day. He just like the switch flips in him and he decides, I'm going to fight monsters. And so for 3 years he trains and fights monsters. And this leads to where he is today as the strongest being, and he has no strong fight anymore, and he doesn't feel anything from it anymore. And now, his goal was to become the strongest person, the strongest hero, and now he is this person who, once again, feels a lack of self-actualization, even though he's reached his goals, which is very interesting writing from Mr. One here. It's part of the reason why I like this character in the series so much, is because Saitama just feels written with intent.
Yeah. And it's like a tragedy the more you read it, the more you realize that Saitama's entire thing is a tragedy, and that like no amount of power can get you everything that you want. And then there's also the fact that like even if you are someone who is driven and like even if like you achieve many of your goals, that like sometimes there's like not a lot that can just like, even if you're someone who is driven and achieving your goals, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to heal the emptiness inside on your own.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like you might give yourself a goal that you've worked on for a couple of years and stuff, and at the end of it, you'll be the same exact person as you were. And what can you do about that? Like, you're stuck in this mentality that you had to make progress to help change yourself, and then you do it, and you're like, nothing changed. I'm still who I was, and I feel like I'm stuck in this, and I can't change anything about it. And that's a really strong message that I don't think is seen. I was going to say a lot, like anywhere really else in media. It's like every time you read a piece of media property, when a character has a goal, they set out to do that goal, and they do the goal by the end of the thing, and they do a character arc. They have these goals, and maybe the goalposts move. Maybe they change for some reason. Like Chainsaw Man has their main character, like he changed his goals throughout the series because he realizes like, oh, this isn't what I actually want to do, and stuff like that. But there's no series where I think it dwells on the fact that reaching that goal isn't what's important and isn't going to change who you are at the end of the day as like a real person. Because sure, these characters that we read of in stories, they might achieve their goals and be happy of it at the end, but sometimes in real life, that's not how it works. You can achieve these goals, and then at the end of the day, it's like, well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah. And it's also like, like, even like if you look at like, the traditional like hero's journey structure, like literally the last part of the circle is the hero has to leave because they have been permanently changed by these events.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like for One Punch Man and Saitama, it's like maybe he's been permanently changed, but like do not forget that
he's
you are the exact same person.
He's 100% a stronger person physically, and like he can withstand more stuff, but at the end of the day, he's still himself, and he still doesn't feel like he has any he doesn't feel like he's done anything special. He doesn't have that self-actualization that a lot of people suffer from in real life, where we don't have that self-actualization in real life, where we're like, oh, I just don't feel like imposter syndrome and that kind of thing, where it's like, that's a very real thing that a lot of people deal with, and that's something that a lot of stories have not really touched on that much.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's like this moment, and it's like, this is like something that like any, person like kind of probably needs to realize is like one thing that really stands out to me is that Tom was like, "Yep, I've been here for about 3 years. The amount of monsters attacks does not seem to have gone down at all, despite all the good that I've done. I really haven't accomplished much." And it's like this kind of moment where it's like, I don't even think he realizes it, but it's like, he assumes that because he has not like literally changed the world that he has failed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's like, even if you don't consciously do it, like you are constantly moving the goalpost for yourself in a way that you'll never be able to reach the goals you set out for yourself. Because like literally short of changing the world, can you really accomplish anything? Which is something that like a lot, especially like a lot of college students, like that's a lesson that they need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like it's like in order to accomplish something, you don't need to literally change the world.
Yeah,
I think I got it a bit muddled, but like, do you get my point?
I kind of get your point. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, at least. Muddled as it may be. No, but it's like,
I'm in.
not everything you have to do has to be for the importance of the world, and I think that's kind of touched on as well by, maybe even better, by Mob Psycho,
Yeah.
where it's like Mob is the strongest psychic of all time, basically, or one of the strongest, and he knows it, and he doesn't want to be, this psychic person, this person who is the strongest psychic and does this kind of thing. And the series is like, it's okay, you don't have to be that person if you don't want to be that person. Just because you were born with this intelligence that's useful in this way, and this power is useful in this way, doesn't mean that you have to be that person that you might have been born predestined to be.
That's it. That's what I forgot. That was the other thing that I finished recently. Finally watched the last season of Mob Psycho.
Or the last season finally come out? Or is that the season before the last season?
No, Mob Psycho 3.
I'm saying, is that the end of the story, or is there...
Yeah, the story ends with the him confessing to Tsubomi arc, right? And that's the end of it.
Yeah, and then did they have like the final episode where it's the birthday or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's over. I remember when Mob Psycho, because it was still being written a couple years ago, and then he just ended it at 101 with the birthday, and everyone was like, "What? That's it?" Like, he told the story he wanted to tell. And that's another great thing about Mob Psycho, which I could talk about as well, endlessly. But Mob Psycho, that him confessing thing. Any other series, it would have felt natural for it to be like, confession accepted and that kind of thing. But with one, it's like these two characters have had like 2 scenes on screen together, and one just is like, no, of course they're not going to be together at the end, and it feels intelligent. It's like, okay, it makes sense that she would say no, and that Mob wouldn't be like so torn up about it. He'd just be like, well, time to move on, I guess. Like, maybe I'll try again in the future. It's like, it's
yeah.
not stupid writing. Yeah, it's not stupid writing. It's intelligent writing, and that's what I like about one. Is that he knows how to make you not feel like a moron from reading his work.
It was so good. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to pivot the whole thing to that, but I did just want to say that's the other thing that I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
That I had finished.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely there. So yeah, that's. I mean, the introduction. The other interesting thing about the introductions kind of thing is that two of the strongest villains in the whole series are seen here, which is Vaccine Man, the first villain that we see who gets immediately destroyed. Is one of the strongest villains in the series, and then the other one's the super tall, like 500-foot giant man as well. There's another one of the strongest people in the series, and they both just get killed instantly. Which is funny to see here in the introductory part.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
But moving on, House of Evolution. There's a couple interesting things to say. We meet Genos a little bit earlier with Mosquito Woman, which I don't know if that's included. She is part of House of Evolution, so I guess throw it in there.
Yeah.
And Genos asks to be his disciple, and Saitama just kind of like half-heartedly agrees. He doesn't think he's serious about it, and then he keeps showing up to his house, which is good for Saitama. It's good for him. It forces him to have a friend, essentially.
Forces him to have human interaction.
Yes, even if that human is 95% cyborg.
Yeah. And one gag that I will never get tired of is the huge exposition dump followed by summarize it in 3 words or less.
Yeah, 10 words or less,
3
yeah.
sentences or less.
Yeah. Which is something that nobody told to Genos in the recent chapters when he wouldn't shut the fuck up about stuff. to all the heroes. But yeah, House of Evolution is just interesting because we kind of get an insight into their relationship a little bit and how it's developing and how strong Saitama really is. And the fact that Saitama didn't do anything interesting or like make a pact or anything, he just kind of lucked into this power.
He worked hard and he got it.
Yeah. And it kind of it sets up an interesting thing for some of our characters later that we haven't even met yet. You know, it sets up something interesting for Zombie Man, who we don't even know yet. So it's like,
yeah,
we'll see you later. See ya.
It's like, I'm in the mood to crush an evil organization.
Yeah.
I love Zombie Man.
Yeah.
Webcomic and manga Zombie Man are completely different people, but I love them.
He's one of the best S classes, like character-wise. And we'll get into the S class here in a minute, but last before we move on to the Hero Association. Paradise Group, real quick. The only notable things to mention here, Hammerhead makes a recurring joke a couple times, and and actual character Speeda Sensei
is my baby boy. I love him.
He's a great character. He's hilarious. He's not inherently a bad person, but we kind of extrapolate.
He's like definitely not a good person.
Yeah, and we extrapolate on him a bit later in one of the later arcs. So
I was so excited when we got Speeda Sound's Sonic backstory.
Yeah, and it was with Flashy Flash. It was completely unexpected when that stuff was releasing.
So yeah. And then the God, Flashy Flash is so funny.
I just love the scenes with the door closed made me laugh like audibly because I forgot it happened twice. It actually made me laugh audibly on reread this. So I forgot he did it to him twice. It was hilarious. But that's really it for the introduction. Nice little setup arc, sets up our important characters that we need to see going forward. And then we move on to the Hero Association, where the series actually starts setting itself up. So the first little arc in the Hero Association is the registry arc, which is just them going and registering for the Hero Association. It's the test and kind of shows Saitama absolutely blasting through all their records and stuff and just decimating everything. And
then just like basically bombing the written portion.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that he starts out at like the very bottom rank of like barely qualifying as a hero.
Yeah. And Genos is his disciple, quote unquote, is put up to S class instantly because the Hero Association has had their eye on him and has been like looking to see if he'll join and stuff like that. So they're like, he joins and they instantly put him up to S class because they know he's powerful.
Yeah.
So, and other than that, the only other thing is that Saitama learns that having an actual job as a hero isn't all it's cracked up to be compared to it being his hobby before. Because now he actually has he has stuff that he has to do each week as a C class. Mm-hmm. He has to make quotas and stuff like that. So that's funny. Little jokes on that kind of thing.
I think one of my favorite things, like in like these early like Hero Association chapters, is the moment where Saitama is like, Jenna's like, so Saitama, have you done your like weekly stuff yet? And he's like, what? I haven't seen anything on the news. And he's like, C-class heroes are supposed to just like stop purse snatchers.
Yeah, C-class heroes are not, they're not like huge, powerful heroes. They're just people who want to do something good with their life. And so they're like, oh, let's rescue people from purse snatchers and that kind of thing. Ne'er-do-wells.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, okay. I guess my monitor just went to sleep. I just like lost everything on my computer screen for a second, and I'm like, what?
So next arc is one chapter. It's the rumored monster arc. It's the seaweed monster. It's when Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio fight him, and then Saitama shows up and one punches him at the end. Just a little thing, short little thing.
Cute little thing. What, I forget. Was that one wasn't in the webcomic, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah. So I do. Yeah, so this one is kind of neat because it's a little bit of a setup for the Monster Association arc.
Yeah, because there's some lines dropped here and there, but like, ooh, there's something powerful. There's the group of powerful monsters waiting around here. Ooh, it's like never really suspect anything at this point in the story because the story isn't set up as an actual story yet.
Yeah. So I do really like that as like because like obviously the webcomic was first and then the manga was second. So there's a lot of interesting stuff, especially early on, where you see like one is adding in like setup for later plot points that wasn't originally there.
Yeah, in the manga, yeah. Well, it's like in the webcomic this wasn't there, but in the manga it's there to help set up for later, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the benefit of having a first draft and second draft. So that you can kind of change the story into a way that's better for you, and the disbenefit is stuff like the Monster Association losing some of its snap, but we'll get there. Yeah. So next is Giant Meteor. Interesting little arc. The first part is about a giant meteor coming down. We get to meet some of the other S-class heroes, like Bang and Metal Knight, as they try to stop this giant meteor. And then Saitama one-punching it, as per usual. But when he...
It's also like... go on.
When he punches the meteor, it breaks into a quadrillion pieces and rains down on the city and still destroys it. It doesn't kill people, but it still kind of like destroys the city.
No one dies, but like it wrecks everything.
Yeah. So he saved a bunch of people, but in the process ended up destroying the city, which is something that's been touched on a lot recently in superhero-related stuff. It's like, how can you be a hero if you destroy everything in your wake?
Yeah, like collateral damage matters, actually. I think one thing I really like about this meteor incident is that I think it's like kind of like the first moment in the story where it is priming you to think about it a bit deeper. Because like obviously like there's depth in it from the very beginning, but like this meteor does multiple things to like prime you as a reader or watcher to think about it a bit more in a bit more complex terms. Because like for one, there is the moment afterwards with the fact that everyone in the town kind of hates Saitama for destroying the town by messing up the meteor, because he's not an S-class hero, so he doesn't have the same sort of trust.
Yeah.
But there's some other layers to it too. Like, for instance, the fact that and this might sound like a stupid thing to say, but does this moment ruin the joke? Because he destroys the meteor in one hit, but he does not get a complete victory. So does this destroying the meteor ruin the dag, in your opinion?
No, and I think that's something that I'll touch on when we get to Boros a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, it 100% does not ruin the gag. As well as we'll see later when we get to more situations where he's not exactly one-punching things.
Yeah. But I just want to kind of bring that up, though, because, like, not that, like, I think the question of does it ruin the dad is particularly important. Or not that it's unimportant, but it's like, I don't think that's, like, a real question. But it is something that you have to ask yourself at this point. Where it's like, oh, yeah, he's
Mm-hmm.
One Punch Man, but, like, he that wasn't a complete victory for him.
Yeah.
So does it count?
And it's definitely something where it's affecting the people around him, and Saitama isn't the smartest person of all time. But he also isn't an idiot. He's an average level of intelligence kind of person where it's like he can recognize things that other people don't recognize. And I'd say emotionally, we were talking One Piece about how all the characters are so emotionally intelligent. I think Saitama is very emotionally intelligent. It's just sometimes he doesn't display it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely recognizes what's wrong with someone before sometimes even they do. A la Garo, you know.
But he's also awful at conveying it
Yeah.
90% of the time.
Yeah. So, Meteor, we get a nice insight into what the series is kind of going to become, which then builds upon itself immediately in the next arc, the Sea Monster. Dun dun dun. Where we get to see some returning characters, some new characters, a lot of heroes, one other S-class, Puri Puri, who actually gets beaten. What are your thoughts on Puri Puri Prisoner? Let's just pull off this Band-Aid.
All right, so Puri Puri Prisoner is a very funny character. I very much enjoy them as a character. Some of the jokes that Puri Puri Prisoner is involved in are funny.
Yeah, some of them.
Some of them go a bit too far.
Yes. A little bit. So, Puri's backstory is he's a really strong superhero. And he's into dudes. He's a gay man. I think he's the only, like, officially gay person in the series. And, but he's also a little too into dudes, and he has feelings that he wants to do bad things to other guys, but he kind of convinces himself that the only right way to do it is to do it to prisoners because they've already committed sins, so might as well do it to them instead. That's his backstory. It's a little fucked up, to put it lightly. And the worst part is, the most fucked up thing about it is, like with Hisoka, where it's like Hisoka's fucked up. Hisoka's like serial killer, most likely a pedo, like all this kind of shit, but you still like Hisoka as a character because of the way he's written. And he doesn't like act on these things, so it's like okay to like kind of excuse it because it's just in his head or whatever. Puri Puri Prisoner is never like explicitly like talked about and stuff like that, and also every time Puri's on screen, he's being like a model superhero.
Yeah.
He's never being like a piece of shit or anything like that. Like everyone who sees him on screen recognize, they're like, oh, he's like a real like model superhero and like a what it means to be a hero, that kind of thing. And so it kind of it's this dichotomy with his backstory where it's like he's apparently doing these very foul things to other people, but it's like, well, actually, every time we see him, he's probably one of the like most level-headed S-class people as well. It's like, what the fuck?
And it's like he is like, and it's not like anything he does is ever out of like malicious intent,
No.
which may make it worse.
Yeah. But just like the in the web comic where we get to Neo Heroes way later, where Raiden fights with him because he's like, you're a foul person, like he knows his reputation, and then he fights with him, and then like after like 5 minutes of fighting with him, he's like, all right, I was wrong. You're like actually a really good guy. And it's like, yeah, it's fucked up, but it's like he's one of the most like level-headed, down-to-earth S-class people, despite having this fucked up backstory and being this fucked up person. And he has interesting moral quandaries as a character too, when like he sees the paper about him being like a sham after the sea monster arc, and he's like, you can tell he's like downtrodden by it, like he's like the people don't see me as a real hero and stuff like that, and you can tell that he's like he has these feelings about it, but it's like, I don't want to touch him with the 10-foot pole because of his backstory.
It's just like, oh, Puri prisoner.
It's a very interesting. It's similar. He's similar to Hisoka in my mind, where it's like, it's not okay to like this character. It's not fully okay to like this character, but at the same time, the way it's written and stuff. So I don't know.
At least with Hisoka, the truly heinous crimes, like with Hisoka, besides all the murder and stuff, the truly heinous crimes are things that he presumably has never done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't stretch the same. You can't stretch the same excuses for either, because it makes it clearly obvious that he has done these things, even though it never like explicitly states it. So it's one of those things.
One of those.
And
I do love Puri Prisoner, but
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like one could write it. Like he has the capacity to write it as an intelligent, like, look at like how awful people can be good people at the same time, or like how, something like prison rape is like a terrible thing in society and stuff like that. Like I feel like he could write some interesting stuff involved with that, but he just hasn't yet. So it's like you're in this weird kind of limbo where it's like, I don't know. But anyway, moving on from Puri. Oh no, you got something to say? You got something to say? No, don't let me interrupt you.
I don't even know if I would want him to explore it more, but at the same time, it's like, it's very much in like this.
Yeah, it feels like it's something that you can't make an excuse for. You can't be like, it's this funny character with this funny joke, and the whole series will just have to be this funny character with this funny joke. It's like you have to extrapolate on it eventually. You have to say, okay, let's pause for a second and look at this from a real world perspective and be like, what is wrong here?
Mm-hmm. And it's also like the exact and it's also because like the series itself does with many of its things, like they kind of step back and say, hey, let's look at this from a real world perspective. Even if you're a superhero who has music as a thing, you still probably shouldn't play in the street with headphones on.
Yeah.
I love Forte so much.
I love how much of a scumbag Forte is. Just how an absolute scumbag Forte is. I love that much about him. Like, Forte is the kind of guy that you'd have like as a friend in high school that you just wouldn't be friends with after high school. You'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah. This fucking scumbag.
like, yeah, we're in the same class every day. That's as far as it'll go.
But moving on, the sea monsters come up and the heroes put up a good fight. We see Shooter Spinner Spinner putting up a really good fight against a bunch of monsters, showing how strong an A-class hero can be, and it kind of sets the good stage for A-class heroes. Before Deep Sea King shows up and just destroys him, and then destroys a bunch of other A-class heroes, destroys Puri Puri Prisoner. He gets into this safe shelter where they bring a bunch of normal people and kind of starts wreaking havoc. He's stopped by some normal heroes who we have to, even though we know we're weaker because he stopped A-class and S-class, we have to put up a stop, which is a nice moment. Which is I'll expand on toward when we get to the end of this arc, but Genos arrives on the scene, tries to stop him, is puts up a good fight, but is in the end trounced when rain starts falling and enhances his power even more than he already was. You know, he was already defeating S-class and A-class, but wasn't even him at his full strength.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's super strong.
It's also worth noting that Genos could have put up a better fight if he hadn't if he didn't have to protect the people there.
Yes.
So like the moment like collateral damage became a factor, like the edge was like even more not in his favor anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's when Moomin Rider shows up. Very emotional scene here.
Which I think this was the moment where the show went from like good to great for me.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a lot of people's like standout moment that a lot of people remember from the first season, which is this Moomin Rider, this C class. He's number 1 in the C class, but he can't progress to B because he doesn't have any actual power. He's not strong. He's not, he doesn't have any powers, but he's still like a really good guy, and he wants to do the best that he can in the world. So he's the top of the C class, number 1. And he arrives on the scene. A bunch of A classes and S classes have been defeated, and despite all this, he doesn't run away. He stands up and tries to fight with everyone, in the kind of safe zone cheering him on because he's their only hope. Nobody else is here. He's their only hope, and of course, in the end, he's beaten. Moomin Rider's a great character, and this is a great little like point of one's writing where he can kind of get straight to the point, and it's like, you know exactly who Moomin Rider is just from this interaction, this little interaction that he had with Saitama before as well, and like one wrote this in a very specific way so that immediately after Saitama shows up on the scene, and as an audience you're relieved, but you also understand what just happened and kind of what this means for the story. It's kind of confusing to state without citing future references, but like what this means for Saitama himself, where he arrived just to... Yeah, go on.
It's one of the first things that Saitama says to Genos is that I always tend to be a little bit late.
Yeah, and it's like that kind of... Saitama's just that little bit late. All these heroes were defeated by Deep Sea King. I don't think any of them died, but like some of them came close, and some of them were seriously injured and stuff like that, and Saitama wasn't there, and that's like one of the major failings that Saitama sees in himself, is that he's not always there. Even though he's the strongest, he knows he's the strongest, but he can't be everywhere, and he realizes this in this moment, and he one-punches Deep Sea King. After he one-punches Deep Sea King, he's kind of standing there in reflection, and disturbances in the crowd happen where the crowd, some terminally online user decides to decides to kind of rile up the crowd and be like, maybe, if he's a C class and he came in and defeated that monster, maybe the monster wasn't actually that strong. Maybe all the other heroes were just weak, and like our hero system's inherently flawed and stuff. Well, he's correct on the hero system being flawed, but that's beside the point. Saitama hears this, and he doesn't he thinks on it for a second, and then he starts pretending like he took the glory of all the other heroes for the reason to kind of propel the other heroes up who kind of sacrificed their time here. Because Saitama, to him, this was just another one punch. This was just another monster that he walked up to and defeated instantly. To all the other heroes here, this was a wall that they couldn't surpass, but they still stood up against anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And Saitama realizes that in this moment and decides to kind of play the foil to himself, propelling up the other heroes so that they can seem a little more heroic in the eyes of the normal person. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's not only just like to make them seem more heroic, it's also to like not just to make them seem more heroic, but to like literally save their reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if like what the guy said, panned out, and that's what everyone believed, is that, this was honestly not that strong of a villain. Even if like it panned out that way, it would still be like, that would like destroy all of those other heroes' reputations.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like a huge gut punch for them. And especially with the way that the society is kind of shown in this, where it's like, whatever the initial narrative is seems to stick.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time. Because, like, there is, like, an argument that, like, you could just actually explain what's going on to everybody properly. Like, it'd take, a lot, but you could do that. But would that even work? And so
Yeah.
Saitama is instead just which part of that could go back to the fact that he doesn't think that highly of himself.
Mm-hmm.
To where his first response in these sorts of situations is to be like, well, and people don't really like me that much anyway, so I'll just, do whatever is best for everybody else.
Right. And I don't even think it's that. I just think it's he knows he'll be fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because he's Saitama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those things where it's like, well, I don't care throwing my reputation under the bus because I don't even really care about this hero work to begin with. It's like he'll still be a hero even if he gets fired from the Hero Association. He'll still be a hero even if everyone in the world hates him. It's not important to him. What's important to him in this moment is he realizes is that the other people who this is important to aren't ruined by this, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And a nice moment from Genos, I think, as well here, is that Genos sees this and Genos goes, I realize the road my master's going down, and I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to interfere with him being like the most hated hero that'll probably be rising through the ranks because that's what he wants to do. So I'm not gonna like try to like go to the people and be like, no, actually, he's really cool. He's really cool. He's really good. Which is a moment that I think is good for Genos, and it kind of helps with later in the series when Saitama's growing kind of at a slower rate than I think the reader would enjoy, and it's because Saitama doesn't report what he does. Genos doesn't report what he does because he already, knows his master went down this path and he doesn't want to interfere with it. And so it's just up to random people being like, oh, that Caped Baldy defeated that guy, So it's like, that's why Saitama's rising so slowly through the ranks, and like, it's part of the reason as well. So it's like, it's a nice little setup for all this kind of interaction with the Hero Association that we see going on later.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got anything else to say about Deep Sea Cane, the arc?
Not really. I cried on my first and second viewings, and
it's emotional.
I teared up when I got to it in the manga.
It's emotional for sure. So moving on, Alien Conquerors, which is the Boros arc. Some great stuff going on here. The first thing that this arc kind of starts out with is an introduction to all of the S-Class. And now I'm going to stop our discussion about the arc, and we're going to start talking about the S-Class. Cory, who's your favorite S-Class member?
Favorite S? Okay, hard Metal Bat. Hard Metal Bat.
That's a pretty good one. I cannot disagree. I had to think about it for a second, though.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? Is this tier list stream? Tier list stream?
It's honestly like that's where it's going right now.
All right, so going into S is going to be. Oh wait, they're all in S. Frick. All right, S1, S1.
Um, my thoughts on the S class from One Punch Man. So there are 21 people in S class, right? Am I thinking correctly? 1,
Let's
2,
see.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? 18? 16? Where? my brain. It's 19 because Genos is the 19th, isn't it? Isn't it?
Um,
And then honorary 20th. Is that what it is? I'm trying to think. Where was Genos introduced this? Was he 18th? Maybe he was 18th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe. 17. I'm thinking 17. Because 18 is Oh My Mask. I think. It's Blast, Tatsumuki,
yeah,
King.
Bane.
Or Bang is before King?
Yeah, I
What?
think Bane is before King.
Darkshine, Flashy Flash. At this point, I'm giving up on order.
Yeah.
Atomic Samurai,
Yep.
Pig God, Metal Bat, Watchdog Man, Tank Top Master. Child Emperor, Zombie Man, Drive Knight, Puri Puri Genos, and Metal Knight. Yeah, 17. I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because Genos was introduced as 16. Starting out, he started out one above Purry Purry Prisoner.
That's right. Yeah, because he started above Furry. Hold on. Make sure I got that right. Let me just search up a tier list. It'll have all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yep. Go. And then my mask is 18 because he's technically an S class. There's no way you can convince me otherwise.
Yeah, he should be an S class. The only reason he isn't
For his own
is
personal
because
reasons.
he doesn't want. Yeah, he doesn't want any other. Well, the reason he says because he doesn't want any other undeserving S classes to move up to S class.
Yes, which begs the question: who do you think he thinks is undeserving?
Which, with recent events in mind, you could also say that the reason he doesn't move up to S class is because he doesn't think he is deserving of moving up to S class.
That could be true as well, honestly, actually. You're not entirely wrong. So let's rank the S class real quick. Blast. We'll go in order, I guess. Blast is fun.
Yeah, Blast is fun. I'd put him in you know, let me pull up your stream. You probably should have had pulled up time.
I'll actually change my stream to pull up a tier list real quick. Or to pull up the tier list real quick instead of RuneScape.
Oh wait, but what if they missed some of the RuneScape action?
Oh no. Anyway. Is this gonna work? There you go. That Why is it, that's way more zoomed in than what I had. Wait. That's the, oh, it's because it's okay. Hold on, let me see if this works then. Nope. Actually.
All right.
I don't want to mess this one up because it's my YouTube video thing. I guess this just works. That's fine. So, the S class tier list. Let me just get these in order. 3 is Bang. 4 is Samurai. Emperor. Mickey Albiat. So, thoughts on Blast?
Putting him on blast.
My thoughts on Blast from One Punch Man. Here are my
All right, so coming in at number 1, we have Blast. He's number 1 on our list because he is number 1 in the Hero Association rankings. Yep. You know, one of the biggest questions in One Punch Man is why is Blast number 1 when we haven't even seen him?
So that's something I wanted to point out, the differences between manga and webcomic. Blast is nowhere to be seen in the webcomic. And it's kind of a plot point almost as we get later into Neo Heroes and Blue exists.
Yeah, and I'm so interested to see how that reads in the manga whenever we get to Blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we already know Blast in the manga.
Yeah,
we already know he's a cool enough dude. Can I also say Blast's design in the webcomic I like more than his design in the manga? Because Blast's design in the webcomic is
like in the webcomic.
Let me see if it has it on the wiki. Because in the webcomic he it does. He just has like this like weird fire outfit. It looks so funny.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's so funny.
He just looks way more in the anime they just like did a really stylized thing with him, but he just looks way more professional in the manga, which is probably because the fact they actually introduced him in the manga and like want to tell a story with him that's different from whatever they wanted to say in the webcomic. That's yet again why the webcomic's a rough draft, but so Blast, he seems like a cool enough dude. He's definitely like the strongest. You can tell.
Yeah, I feel like I would put Blast in C tier probably.
Okay. That's where you're putting him.
Yeah, because like for me, I think his reputation speaks for itself, and I think that the fact that like there is this gaping hole at the top of the Hero Association, and that there's someone that like they kind of say that like, oh yeah, we'll call on Blast if we ever need him. When in reality, just he makes 0 appearances because he's either doing something more important or maybe not. We don't know for sure in the webcomic anyway.
Yeah.
Like everything we do get of him in the manga, I do like.
Yeah, he seems like an okay guy.
Yeah.
He has weird like
I don't think I would ever
reality warping powers and all that stuff.
Yeah. And like there's obviously like a plot beyond what we're currently on that is going to heavily involve Blast.
Yeah, Blast and God.
Yeah, Blast and God. So I think everything with him is good. I don't think we've gotten enough to actually put him higher.
Like I was gonna kind of agree. I was like, I don't know where I'd honestly put him, just because it's like we don't know really enough about him, even with the manga like appearances.
Yeah, I feel like as we get more of the Neo Hero arc, and we get more like with Blue in particular, I think I might move him up just by association.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's like not happened yet. So
yeah, I think he's a really cool idea in the webcomic, which is what I like. he's a really cool idea that hasn't been extrapolated on. Like, what if we later see that he's like passed away or something, or like what happened with him necessarily, and it like parallels Saitama's story in some way. That's what I like about his design in the webcomic, is that it's simple. It gets to the point that he's the strongest, and we don't get to see much about it. So it's like later one can expand on it in a way that expands Saitama's story when he's there. So that's why I like Blast idea, but there's really nothing we could say about him.
Yeah. So up next is the horny pinnacle of the internet for several years.
That's me. I'm the horny.
He's got the horn, I've got the E.
Listen.
Tatsumaki, hard S tier for me.
It's really hard not to put her in S tier, not because she's a good person, but because she's such a well-written character.
I know, she is such a little twerp.
It feels impossible not to put her up there because of how impeccably written she is. Like in the webcomic and the manga, this is something I wanted to touch on with her a little bit, is that she's two completely different characters.
Yes.
and it's great how they're both written. They're both fantastic.
Like both of them.
They're both fantastic in their own ways. So it's like they're great.
Yeah, it's like whether she really is as good as she says or not, still an amazing character.
Yeah.
The scene of her like the scene in the manga where her and Fubuki are having dinner and Fubuki has to like wipe her face off. Getting spaghetti everywhere.
It's fucking great. I love her so much. She's fantastic, and I love how she's written, and like her character growth throughout the series is so expertly done.
Yeah.
One really knows how to write his characters, and this is no exception. Murata really knows how to draw the characters in compromising positions. Her being no exception.
The moment she shows up on screen, the manga gets so horny. It is just something that is worth noting.
Listen, it's not as bad as, Fubuki, but
That's true.
Murata cannot help himself when Fubuki's on screen.
That's very true. I really do love Tatsumaki, though. Just aesthetically, character-wise, plot-wise, love Tatsumaki.
Yeah, no, she's great. I love her. Bang. I mean,
I would put him in S.
Yeah, I'm also putting him in S. He's fucking great. I love Bang.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like Bang is one of those characters that is just like, I love him.
Yeah. No, I mean, Bang he's one of the most intelligent characters in the series. He gets swept up by his emotions a lot as well. And he has some really great scenes where he just wrecks house and does great things. And I mean, he's super powerful. He's super awesome. He's Bang. How can you not like him?
And there are some scenes of him and Garo in particular that make me tear up.
Mm-hmm.
In the manga in particular, with the art, it makes me tear up quite a lot.
Yeah. No, they have some extra fights between them in the manga as well, so. For sure. Although I do like... this is something that's going to happen every time the Monster Association is brought up. I do like the ending better, where Bang is like disciplining him, but not... He's like holding his punches and like trying not to hurt him too much, and like the other heroes are like, why aren't you killing? Like, it's so great. It's so well done. Why? I genuinely want to ask the question, like, why did you change it so much from the way it was? But at the end of the day, it's like, well, the webcomic's still there. I can still enjoy the webcomic, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Atomic Samurai.
Yeah. I'd say I would put him in. Atomic
It's
Samurai.
hard to say. I think this might be the one where we have a difference, maybe, but we'll see.
I'm leaning towards A.
Okay.
I really like him. In particular, um, the sort of symmetry between uh, the heroes versus the aliens and the heroes versus the monsters,
Mm-hmm.
where the sort of like slashing is all I do
Yeah.
pulls him through in one situation and then makes everything worse in another.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, there's a difference between a sperm and an alien. And I really enjoy that narrative symmetry.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah. I like Atomic as a character. The way he's written, I like a lot. He's known throughout the fan base as Atomic Sandbag because he always gets destroyed in fights.
Oh yeah,
um, the thing I like the most about him is his relationship with his students, which I love all of his students. They're all great. I like that a lot about him. I was gonna put him a bit lower, but I think you've convinced me a bit to put him up a bit higher. I don't know.
oh, did you have him B?
I was thinking down to C because he has some
Oh,
funny
really?
scenes, but like, and he definitely like has these moments of growth as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of an asshole.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
We'll make the difference here and put him in B.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. I think I could put him in B or A, honestly. So yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. I don't dislike Atomic, and especially as a character, like the way he's written in the scenes that he's in, I like him a lot. Especially with, like I said, with the master dynamic. But like, I can't bring myself to like really like him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Child Emperor.
All right. So, definite A tier for me.
Okay. I'm gonna instantly agree with you. Actually, for sure agree with you
I
here.
think reading the manga Monster Association arc, I was shocked by how much I ended up liking Child Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Incredibly good and interesting character, like as a child.
Yeah.
Where it's like this character is like incredibly like one of the most level-headed characters in the
Yeah,
series.
and it's great.
Very intelligent, very smart, surprisingly like adept at like tight situations,
Mm-hmm.
but like 100% still a child, still a
Yeah.
convincing child.
Yes. And like the interactions that he has with Metal Knight as well, it's like you can very very easily tell that he's still a child at heart, and at the end of the day, while he is one of the smartest characters in the verse, he's still very young and needs to learn a lot. But
Yes.
also compared, like him and the Neo Heroes is like, I'm getting the damn job done now because nobody else will, and it's great.
Yeah,
When he's just like
I love
this 11-year-old child is like, I have to put up now because nobody else will. It's great, fantastic writing. Yeah, I like
that.
Child
All
Emperor a
right.
lot. I also like the dichotomy when he's in Neo Heroes and stuff. But we'll talk about that when we ever get there.
Yeah.
Metal Knight.
Metal Knight, I would put in. I feel like it's kind of hard to say because we obviously have not seen the full extent of Dr. Bofo yet.
Yes.
In terms of like setup and payoff so far. It's like one of those, like, it's very obvious and you see it coming a mile away, but at the same time it's so well done that it's like, like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But like him like being a villain is so obvious.
Especially like the fact that he's paranoid and antisocial and like, Child Emperor was his apprentice for a while before they fell out and this kind of thing and this and that. And it's like everything seems to be setting him up for this villain role. And I think it's going to be a little twisted on its head, maybe. We'll see when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Something's
Yeah,
going to
like,
happen.
I would probably put Dr. Beaufoy in B
Okay.
at the moment, but it's like kind of like with that, like kind of similar to Blast, where it's like I know we're not done with him by any means, so it's like I feel like I will probably raise it at some point.
Yeah.
But like at the moment with what we have, I would only feel comfortable putting him in B.
I think Beaufoy is being set up to be misunderstood, whether he be a hero or a villain. We'll see. But I think he's definitely being set up to be misunderstood in some way. And it doesn't help because him as a character is this incredibly like antisocial, put offish kind of guy from what we've seen so far. So I think I was going to put him in C, but King.
The other thing about putting him in C is that we have gotten more of him than Blast.
That's true. I was say we can just like delete some of these lower rows. So King.
S tier.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I completely agree with you.
He is the strongest hero in the association.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he shows up, the day is saved.
Yep.
He commands a lot of respect because he deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
The King engine is feared the world. Yeah, King, easy S tier.
Yeah, he's just super strongest guy ever. Cool, awesome. But in reality, he's really great as a character, and that's what makes him so good.
I love King as a character.
It's fantastic.
And it's like I was spoiled on the King bit before I actually read it or watched it. I forget where I got spoiled on it, but like I did get spoiled on it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But like still, the joke was perfect.
Right.
And it is perfect every time it comes up. One of my favorite things to do with King is in a very recent webcomic chapter, actually, where Saitama gets Dr. Kusuno, I think that's the name? Dr. Kusuno,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
To fix King's Damble.
He breaks every single thing that he borrows from King. It's great.
Yeah.
So King has no powers, and it's a fantastic joke. It's hilarious. And he's been put in this position because he's always been near the scene where Saitama saves the day, and because Saitama's been 3 years of not taking any credit for anything, King has just been there, so he's been taking all the credit. And it's fantastically written. And I think the thing I like about King is he has no powers. He's been put in this position where everyone thinks he has powers, and he keeps being told to go out on missions and stuff. And he's not a coward. Like he's a coward, of course. Like he runs like from monsters in the bathroom and stuff like that, and he runs away and stuff. Mm-hmm. But he's still there on the scene, and he's still acting his part to distract the monsters from being like, oh, the world's strongest man is here, like in the Monster Association. Like he does his part, and he like saves the kid as well. And it's like King isn't a coward.
He is a coward in the specific situation of where like he definitely should be a coward.
Yeah, he's in the coward of self-preservation sense, like to a minimal sense, where it's like he needs to realize the moments where he isn't going to live if he continues lying. And that's part of what makes King so great. It's like also King is he has a great heroic kind of sense himself, as we see in the Monster Association, where in the manga version, where Garou comes and kind of like poisons everyone with a nuke. We see King like taking off his jacket and trying to protect others by putting it on people and like laying his body over other people to protect them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's not something you would do if you're a coward and stuff like that's not something you would do if you like. He has a heroic sense even if he doesn't have these powers, you know. So it's like, that's part of the reason why I like King so much, is because he's not a traditional coward in the sense of I'm just going to run away from everything and be afraid of stuff. And
not to mention one of my favorite dads in the series, where he knows to be trained by every single
like he wants to put in the work to become stronger. That's the thing too, but nobody wants to train him.
It's like, oh, you're so powerful. You should try. Oh, you're too powerful.
Even Bang, who is like the smartest character, one of the smartest like characters in the series, is like doesn't realize that he's trying to say I don't have any strength. I've been lying this whole time. Bang is like, I get it. You know, the fact that you recognize that you could be stronger is it's a good trait in people like you. You know, it's like, no, Bang, really, I don't have anything.
It's so good.
But yeah, and like also like the moment where he calls to Elder Centipede so that Saitama can punch him and he doesn't like move or anything like that. Like, it's King's a great guy. I love King. But the best moment for King, since we're gonna not stop talking about King apparently, the best moment for him is definitely when Saitama's like, I just feel depressed, I don't know what to do, and King's like trying to like hype him up, and he gives him like this fantastic little speech where he's basically like, if you don't know what to do, then like you need to pick yourself up and try different things, do different stuff. You can't just sit around saying, I don't know what to do forever and just sitting there. Like, you have to become a better person. You can't just wish you were. And then Saitama's like, wow, I was genuine, like, you genuinely affected me there, King. And then the gag is that King read it from a manga and didn't actually think of it himself, but
wow, I love King so much.
But it's still, King's great. I mean, he's fantastic. Zombie Man.
Oh, this is a hard one. Oh god. I'll say A.
Okay.
I think I'll say A.
Okay. I dig you there. I dig you. He is, Zombie Man's pretty great. A product of his raising, but not the nature versus nurture debate. Not a, he isn't so affected by the fact that he was a clone hybrid thing that he can't live his life like a normal person, you know? And he's striving to get stronger. He's probably one of the smartest characters. I know we keep saying this about all these different characters, but he's probably one of the smartest characters in the verse. And he's just very cool, very intelligent. I'll put him up at A as well.
Yeah.
It was a debate between A and S, I'm sure, with you as well. It's like,
yeah, it was a debate.
He's very close, but I don't think he needs a little time in the oven.
Yeah. I think a couple of things to say about Zombie Man is that I, in particular, really enjoy the fight between him and the vampire.
Yeah, it's great. In both,
it's very much
in both manga and webcomic, I think it's great.
Yes.
It's extrapolated differently, but yeah, in webcomic it's just like it's instantly done, but it shows how much like struggle he went through, and in manga it's just expanded upon to kind of give you that, wow, like, look at this, you know,
that extra like pain factor to it.
Yeah.
I really like Zombie Man.
He's great. Yet again, one of the S classes that actually gets shit done. Despite the fact that he has no powers besides infinite regenerate, like he has no like super strength or anything like that. He's just a normal human, except for the fact that he can't die. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like
the fact that he literally hides a gun in
his chest. It's so good.
Oh no.
He's insane. But yeah. Zombie Night. I'm looking forward. Zombie Man is great. I think he just needs a little more time to cook in the oven, which he is getting cooked in the oven.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
He's
Literally getting
literally.
cooked right now. Okay. One more thing to say about him is that I absolutely love the line of "I'm in the mood to crush an evil organization."
So good. And then he goes there and yeah, and then Genus is just not evil anymore, and he's like, "Well, now I want to kill the Monster Association." It's great. Drive Night.
On to Drive Night.
Tentatively, I'm gonna start this conversation.
Okay.
Tentatively, I'm calling him a C.
Let me see. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's
Like, I would
similar.
put him in D just for, like, the
I
effects.
honestly, I was thinking D, but like, you know, now you've convinced me. We don't know much about Drive Night,
Drive Night.
and he seems incredibly suspicious and not like a good person.
Mm-hmm.
he does some good work, but like some of the actions and like the little moments where it's like if an author did these kind of little moments, you wouldn't suspect them with a lot of authors, but when it's one, you know that every kind of moment is intentional. For like the end of when Drive Night and Genos are combined, and Drive Night just fucking drops Genos's body cold turkey onto the floor. He doesn't like help him down or anything. He's just like, oop, there you go. See you later. And it's like, to me is a very telling thing of Drive Night's personality right there, where it's like, there's something going on where it's like, there's something not right with Drive Night.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's also like one of the only characters who like gets things done
Yes. And it's,
comparatively.
he's funny in the webcomic because he didn't show up for like, I think like almost the whole thing. Like he was barely in the webcomic, and then when he shows up in the webcomic, it's the higher ups going, one of the only people we can rely on is Drive Night. He does a bunch of stuff for us. It's a great gag. It's a great gag from one. So
That is. Oh yeah, that is actually really funny now that I think about it.
like he's literally not in it, except he's like in two panels at the beginning where he warns Genos, and then he goes away for the whole series and comes back, and they're like, we can only rely on Drive Night. He's one of the few. And it's so funny. So yeah.
Yeah, Drive Night definitely feels like he is about to have a lot of development
Yeah.
for good or for ill.
Him and Beaufoy are right there.
Yeah.
Button
So
heads.
honestly, I think D for Drive Night is funny, but I honestly think I would put him in C with Blast.
I think I'm gonna keep him in D, in my opinion. We need someone to fill out that spot anyway.
Do Drive Night.
I also just think he's gonna be the most of the S class. I think he's the number one to be the villain, the evil person.
Okay.
I think it's him over Beaufoy, in my opinion, but we'll see when we get there.
We'll see.
Yeah, I got bad vibes from him, you know? Him lying to the association about what he did with the cat executive and that kind of thing. It's like rubs me the wrong way. But we'll see. I mean, it's either him or Beaufoy. One of them's being placed as the red herring, and the other one is the real villain, in my opinion. It's one of the two. So we'll see. Pig God.
Good God. A tier.
I was gonna say A or B. For me, he's definitely higher up there, and he's kind of grown in strength as the series was developed into the manga. Because in the webcomic, he was kind of like a cool dude who did some cool things. Like he went back and made sure that, you know, evil natural water was dead and that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, you can tell he's like he's a good guy, and like he has this thing about is it the time and that kind of thing. But in the manga, he's expanded on a bit more, so you can see he very much stands up with the other better members of the S class as like somebody who wants to do things the right way and that kind of thing.
I think in particular the like sheer protectiveness that Pig God has for like the people around him. And he's like one of those. It's like you don't realize it at first, but like as you go on through the Monster Association, the like level of awareness Pig God has for what's actually going on around him. Like I end up really liking Pig God as we go along.
Yeah, he's definitely expanded on as a character in the manga, and especially when they they take away all his fat and give him the tank top, but he's like a different character, and you're like, who's this?
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I'd say A tier for Big Dog for me.
Super Alloy Darkshine, or as I think he's called in the Viz translations, Blackluster, which is a fucking crime.
Yeah.
it's so stupid.
Super Alloy Darkshine.
Yeah, his real name.
So
this is a tough one.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one because it's like kind of like so it's like based on how much I like them, probably a B tier. Like very middle of the road.
Yeah,
I like him fine enough. But in terms of how well he's written, though,
he is one of my favorites written wise.
Yes.
And I would agree. I would put him in B tier as well. Is what I would say.
Yeah.
Just because he's definitely one of the best written characters with believable and realistic flaws. That you kind of look at, and you look at the way one writes him, and it's like, okay, it makes sense, and like how he's written in the webcomic, and like how he leaves the association to be a trainer instead, and that kind of thing, where it's like everything about how he's written is so expertly done. It feels like he's one of my favorite characters writing wise, because it just feels like one knows exactly what he wants, the story that he wants to tell with him.
Yeah. And like every moment, like leading up to like his eventual just like breaking point is so utterly believable.
Mm-hmm. And
like that kind of moment of like, oh, I didn't want to have a good fight, I just wanted to win.
Yeah, he wanted to have a fight where he won.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like him. I like him a lot. I'm excited to see where he goes in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he could have a nice, interesting role to play in Neo Heroes. The only knock I have against him is that he's not actually a black person. Which isn't like...
Yeah,
it's just a weird joke that like came out of nowhere, and it's like, huh?
Yeah, definitely not a choice.
It's something that I can understand from the perspective of the writing, but it just feels weird.
Yeah.
And it makes the official name from Viz, Blackluster, even worse. Because at least Super Alloy Darkshine, like, it plays on the fact that he's not actually, like, he's actually just a man who put a bunch of tanning oil on him, and it's like, okay, I can understand the reference, but like Blackshine, like, come on, you can't give him that name. I to be fair, the Viz translators didn't know, but still,
yeah, probably.
And it feels bad that the only black coded character is not actually a black person, but
yeah. Yeah, that's a yikes.
But it's not the worst S-Class related backstory joke, so we'll give him that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to. All right, so we're either gonna have to pause it here or lightning round, because I'm gonna have
lightning round. Dogman D. Dog. D for dog.
No, definitely A tier.
No, D.
Listen,
we don't know anything about him. He's only a Q City developer, and you know.
Okay, put him in C though, because the fact that like one of the strongest people in the world is literally so strong, but will not leave his hometown to protect it, is so good. Put him in C.
Okay, Flashy.
That's where I would put him in B, because
Flashy.
I really do like him.
Flashy B. Flashy B.
No, Flashy S.
Really? I'll compromise with A. I'll compromise with A.
Because Flashy Flash is so unbelievably stupid. Has to be.
I'll compromise with A. That's you can put him in S tier in your list. Genos S tier. There you go.
Genos S tier.
Metal Bat S tier. There you go.
He's the best character in the manga.
Tank Top B. I like his writing. I'm excited to see where he goes. He's very similar to Super Ally, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tank Top B.
We'll just put him down here in D. I like a lot of the writing stuff with Puri.
Puri Prisoner, J tier.
Mostly driving it
Be in jail.
down. Yeah, like Fergie, it's one of those things where it's like I like you, but I can't love you, you know.
Like, based on his on-screen appearances, I would put him in A tier.
I'll just put him in C, just so Drivnet can have his own little second there. That's our list.
That's our tier list. God, I love Metal Bat so much.
Yeah, Metal Bat's
Whenever we
great.
come back to One Punch Man,
Oh my god, Metal Bat's
I
great.
can talk.
When we get to Neo Heroes, we can just gush about him because he's great.
God,
Because he's fantastic.
I cannot wait. Anyway, that's going to be it for me tonight. Thank you all for coming out tonight. One Punch Man.
Goodbye. Thank you for coming, Cory. We all been fine.
I have to start gaming now. I've been checking it. Chicken Rip. Oh, we haven't even talked on stream yet about all my Pokemon preparation.
I don't even want to know what you're talking about. I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm going to a regionals.
Oh, okay.
Like, I actually don't compete in it.
Good luck then.
Yeah, it's hard. All right, bye.
Bye.
Cooking time.
So yeah, and that's it for me as well. Stream. Bye. It's been nice talking. Goodbye.